Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Amari here. Welcome to today's episode. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. What we're going to do is we're going to answer some questions that, I've been asked, or that I feel like people have been asking, but then also questions that people have asked me that I have right here that are relevant to, anything dealing with the physical, relational, financial, spiritual, and social. And so I'm just going to read the questions off and I'm just going to answer them and give you, I guess, my best insight. And pretty much what's going to happen is that, based off of the answers, hopefully you get some value. Hopefully, it's able to answer some questions and help you propel you into your 2026. And so let's get it. And I guess let's say this before I even get started, make sure you like, subscribe, and share so we can continue to make good quality and valuable videos like this. My man Dan told me to say that. And so, all right, here we go. So what we did was we tiered them, right? Tiered them into different tiers. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, Tier 5. Hopefully we'll be able to get through all these questions. But we'll just start it off. And so the first question is this, right? What does it actually mean to secure your future in 2026, spiritually and financially? Ooh, that's a good one. What does it actually mean to secure your future spiritually and financially? So I think when it comes to securing your future, that has everything to do with, being on a journey, an ever growing journey, a ongoing journey to become better in every area of your life. And I look at life like there's 7 different departments, there's 7 compartments, there's 7 different chambers of securing your future. It's mental, it's the mental part, it's the physical part, it's the emotional part, it's the relational part, it's the social part, it's the financial part, and it's the spiritual part. With the financial and spiritual part being some of the most important ones, and with the spiritual part, I believe, being the most important one. And I believe that spiritually, it's spending time with Him, spending time with God, spending time with Jesus, and showing the fruits of the Spirit. Showing kindness, showing love, showing patience, showing, forgiving attributes, but then also becoming better in the spiritual sense that, you want to get better in different areas in the spiritual way, right? We want to become better Bible readers. We want to become better orders of the word. But then ultimately, I remember years ago, somebody was asking me, Amari, what do you want to do? Like, what is your I think it's 2025. What do you want your 2025 to look like? What is your New Year's resolution? And I was like, I want when people to see me, they see something different about me. They see a light in me that they may not see in everybody else that's around me. And I want people to recognize something on me, not me having to tell somebody that I believe in this or I believe in that. And so spiritually, that's what that looks like, for me. And hopefully, it's building a relationship. Building a relationship with Jesus, building a humble heart when it comes to being in the presence. And I just think that's what it is spending more time. We had a conference called Man Alive. It was like a one-day men's conference at my church. And the guest preacher who was speaking was talking about the overarching theme being, have you been with Jesus? And so when I look at that, it's like, man, how can somebody tell that I've been with Jesus? And that means reading more, spending more time more, being in community more, tithing more, doing all those things. And so that brings me to the financially part, right? What does it mean to actually secure your future, financially? And I think for me, it's budgeting, right? 2026 is a way of budgeting. It's a I'm budgeting more than I've ever budgeted in my life. I'm tithing more than I've ever tithed in my life. And so I believe in the first fruit. So we use this principle, like where is every dollar going? And I believe the first 10%, although it's not a law, it's more of a principle that if you do tithe, God will provide the rest. Like, what do you trust God with? And so for me, that's tithing, whether it's $1 or $1,000. And if you don't maybe have the 10%, start somewhere. Start with 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. Make level your way up to that standard 10%, and maybe you can become a even better giver, not a better giver, a more willing giver, and give more. And so that's for me where it starts, number 1, but then also is budgeting. That's number 2. And number 3, it's finding more creative ways to create pockets where I'm able to get I'm able to expand and earn income from different places. In the Bible, it talks about, having pretty much 7 streams, right? Because you don't know which one will ever go. So I was reading something and I was listening to something, and it said, Solomon had these things where, based off of it, he invested in land, he invested in he invested in land, cash flowing businesses, and real estate. And so that's where I kind of look at the things that I'm investing in. Am I hitting at least one of these 3 things? And then also the timing. I want to be creating different pockets of streams where they pop up in different times. I don't want everything to come at one time, because that means that I'm going to have a drought for one time. I want things to be popping up left and right in different seasons to where we have multitude. So it's diversity, focusing on one thing to get diversity, and then boom. So that's what it looks like for me. Question number 2. Oh, this is a good one. Will AI replace workers or expose people who refuse to grow? Will AI replace workers or expose people who refuse to grow? I believe that AI is something that everybody can be a part of. I believe that artificial intelligence is just a tool. Everything is a tool. And the question is not, is it going to happen? Because it's already here. We've been using artificial intelligence for years. I can take this episode, put it in a software, and it can chop up the episodes for me, and I don't even have to do anything. It can detect it, chop it up, give me a virality score, put captions on it, presets, brand templates, all of these things. Well, in today's society, it's not about, will it expose you for real? It's, what are you going to do so it doesn't expose you? And I think that if we learn to implement AI in our everyday life and our businesses and our life is where we can, as a tool to speed up the process and create more efficiency, I think it could be beneficial. But then also, I still believe on the other side, now I have a two-tone way of saying this. On the other side of it, I do believe that the more AI advanced we get, the more that we need to know how to do the things ourselves. We know how to grow food, fix cars, shop on our own. We need to know how to discern between the things that people did maybe 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago. And so I do believe that everybody should be implementing AI into their platforms. But then also I do believe that there should be a knowledge of, if everything goes bad, will I be able to survive? So there's a dichotomy between the two. So yeah, if you lost everything today, what are 3 skills that you rely on to rebuild fast? Woo! 3 skills that we will rely on to build fast. Well, number 1, I would say networking, communication skills, being able to be in front of different people, being able to learn how to explain your point. What do you do? How do you do it? How do you help the next person? Number 1, networking and communication. Number 2, I will find a skill set that brings tremendous value to the marketplace, right? Whatever that is. That could be learning how to code or leverage AI to code, learning how to, create different systems. But then also the 3rd skill that I would use is, I would try to become the middleman as much as possible, right? Because either you have to have 3 things: the knowledge, the know-how, or the money. And I think it's the easiest when you can connect 2 people, person that has knowledge, person that has money, and you can connect them and you're the middleman. I would try to become the Amazon of whatever it is that I'm doing. So I don't have to do all the work. I just connect the pieces and I collect the percentage. So that's what I would do. If I lost everything today, those are the 3 skills. And then also I will learn how to post on social media. I will learn how to build social media platforms in a way where I create duplicates of myself. And I would do that as much as possible over a long period of time, which is what I'm doing now. So then I can attract people to me in whatever it is that I'm doing. I would take whatever knowledge I have and I would just put it out in the ecosystem. This is how you do, boom. And that's what I would do. Number 4, most people are preparing for retirement, but not eternity. Why is that? Sheesh. That's a really good question. And I think a lot of us, are playing the game where we're on this earth and we want to get all these accolades, right? We want to get all these awards. We want to be around all these great people. But what we truly, I think, miss is that, are we impacting these people? Are the things that we're doing bringing people closer to Jesus? How are we moving? How are we forgiving? How are we loving? How are we patient with people? So for most of us, it's I think it's in how we do these things. What is the end goal? If the end goal is just a material possession, if it's just another accolade, then it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, if we choose to believe in what we believe in, then eternity matters. It's the most important thing. So what are we doing? And I just think we have to change our framework. What are we doing in our everyday lives that could potentially point people back to the person that we're giving all this credit for? And this is something that I'm working on, is, doing things in excellence. If we do things in excellence, then people will see it's being done in excellence, and then we will get rewarded for the things that we're doing, and then we can always point it back to the creator. And I just think that we most of us have an instant gratification thing, and if we don't get it right now, it's like, man, but eternity is a destination that is, we're doing these things for eternity. What is the long-term mindset? If it doesn't matter in 5 years, don't spend 5 seconds on it. And so I just think we have to just change the lens at which we're doing it, right? And because culture will tell you one thing, but most times what culture is telling us to do may feel good, may feel exciting, but those things usually don't equate to happiness without eternity, and definitely don't equate to long-term, eternal gratitude, eternal sufficiency. I think in the world of automation, what becomes a real competitive advantage is people knowing you, right? I think that we've done a great job of building brands. I think we've done a great job of building ecosystems. But if you are building a personal brand, if you're building yourself, right? If you're making yourself known, I think those things will be automation, right? Those things will give you a real competitive advantage. Also, in things of automation, what will give you a competitive advantage? It's discipline, it's faith, it's leadership, it's character, things that are immeasurable. Automation can't measure those things. Like, what are we willing to do that aren't scalable, that really aren't duplicatable? The more we can do unduplicatable things, unscalable things in a high level, the more we will stand out versus everybody else. All right, next question. Are the people around you expanding your future or shrinking it? So I believe that in the last couple of years, I've had to change my circle. I've had to change the people that I'm around, not because I don't love people, it's because based off where I see myself going, I need to be in a circle of reference that's gonna grow me and mature me. Number one, spiritually, and number two, in every other area of my life. I believe that the people in my circle right now are expanding my future because I'm always being tested. I'm always being challenged. I'm always being put in a position where I'm uncomfortable. And so that's important. That's important. And, a good friend of mine, Herman Dolce Gabbana, my bald-headed uncle, I like to call him. He talks about auditing your circle. How are we auditing our circle? So if you're watching this, it's like, how are you auditing your circle in 2026? How are you auditing your circle so in 5 years, your circle can be at a level where you all don't have to worry about really much? Somebody can always pick up the slack for somebody because the circle is so strong. That's the kind of circle that I want. And I believe that I'm aiming in that way. And I think that my circle right now is more focused on the spiritual, which will help everything else in the long term. All right. Next question. This is question number 7. And is community the new currency in business? Wow. Yes, I believe that community is the number one currency in business in 2026. And if it's not number one, it's number 2. Everything that we should be doing in 2026 should have an end goal of building a community. And that community can be anything, right? And I live in South Florida, and so we have some dope communities. We have church communities. We have a buddy of mine that runs a community called Coffee and Chill, right? We have a buddy of mine that, has a workout community. A buddy of mine that, he has this community called 10K Steps. A buddy and a female friend of mine, or a lady friend of mine, and so, we have the Brickle Run Club, things like that. So I think everything has to deal with community. And if you can build a community in 2026 that are all obtaining the same goal or headed to the same direction, no matter what level they are, I think that's a game changer. And I look at it like college. College is the greatest community of all time because everybody wants to do a few things. Have fun, not flunk out, and get to their next level and graduate. And so community is important. I just look at the college model, right? People are paying and even going into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt every single 4 to 5 years to be in a community where they have people that are like them, that are want to get to that next level, right? And college is like the perfect community model. And I think it's a very important piece if you look at the framework of how a community should be built. Now, I don't necessarily believe you should go into debt to build a community, but the concept is like one of the greatest concepts of all time. Why do most people stay busy but never become profitable? I think I have a great answer to this. And I believe that we do a few things. Number one, we never ask for, we do all these things, but we never ask for compensation in return. But then also, I think we are information takers. I think a lot of us taking so much information and we have so many options that we get stuck on something and end up doing nothing. Right? We get stuck on maybe I should do something, but we end up doing nothing. And so that's why also, I think also people are afraid of failure. People are afraid to get judged in public. And those who are not afraid to get judged in public will ultimately always go the furthest because people want to know where you've been at, where you are, where you're going based off what you're doing. And so that, I believe, is one of the reasons. Also, I think system-wise, a lot of us don't have the right systems in place in order to scale into whatever it is what we want to do. Marcus Lemonis, they call himself Mr. Profit. He would take businesses and he would invest in businesses and fix their ecosystem. And he would talk about three things. He would talk about, first you have to have the right people, then you have to have the right process, and then you got to have the right product, and then you will get the profits, right? And that process part is very important because, systematically, if the process isn't right, if the system isn't right, you can maybe become successful at one time, but can it sustain over a period of time? And that's the most important part. Can you truly build something lasting without spiritual alignment? Based off what I believe in, the answer is no. And I would say this, there are empires that have been built for thousands of years. What happens? They always crumble, right? America's no different. America, there's going to be a day where America may not be the greatest country of all. It is an empire. Most empires usually fall at some point and end up not being the number one empire. But ultimately, when Jesus came and he brought the kingdom of the kingdom, the concept of the kingdom of heaven to earth, and created what's called Christianity, what happened is that has lasted since the day he died, right? From when he came to now 2,000 years later, that has lasted. So spiritual alignment, things can last on an earthly standpoint, but if you're talking spiritually, we're talking about, something that can sustain legacy over a long period of time, you have to have spiritual alignment, 100%. What system should every entrepreneur have before trying to scale? So I think we should have, we're talking like social media, there should always be automated systems, things that can answer your DMs, because if something goes viral, you want to be able to catch all that information at one time. One person can't answer 1,000 DMs, 1,000 comments. It's just impossible, right? It's going to take you a long time, right? Also, every entrepreneur should have a text messaging system where you can reach out and text your people. Every entrepreneur should have a way to be able to create long form content like this and be able to chop it up into short form content, right? You don't want to do it by yourself. You want softwares in place. Every entrepreneur should have a place where, every dollar goes, honestly, right? There should always be systems in place, right? So you shouldn't have a system for every part of your business. And we should have a system for every part of our business, because what happens is that it frees us up time. When we can free ourselves up of time, all the rest will happen itself. The next question is, why will collaboration outperform competition in this decade? I believe that collaboration is very important. And when you're talking about building audiences, when you're talking about scaling, you have to collaborate, right? You have to figure out a way to get in front of other people's audiences, right? So if you have the product or if you have the business and you want to get in front of people of influence and use their influence with your product and mash them together and go and market that thing. Because what's going to happen is that the more you collaborate with the right people, the more you'll be able to generate the things that you need in order to get to your goal faster, right? Right now, I'm shooting in the studio. I'm collaborating with the owner of the studio because we're doing events here, we're bringing guests here, and I'm able to use the studio kind of whenever I want because it is a collaboration. We all have this kind of the same goal. They want more people in the studio, and they've been doing a great job of it. I mean, they've had Spotify in here, they've had celebrities in here, TV shows in here. I would love more people to sit across from me when I'm interviewing them to get value. And so even that is collaboration. is a form of collaboration, right? And you want to collab with people who have the same morals, the same goals, the same dreams, the same visions, the same outlook on where they want their life to be, right? And that's so important. So collaboration in 2026 is going to be so important. How should someone with zero tech background start leveraging AI today? Here's what I would tell you to do. Use ChatGPT, use Claude, use Gemini. Go on ChatGPT and say, hey, look, and just give it a 10-minute rundown of your life. Hey, my name is Amari. I do so-and-so. I do events. I'm good at AI. I'm good at marketing. I'm good at creating systems. I'm good at this, that, and the fourth. I have knowledge about cryptocurrency. And I wouldn't call myself and be an expert, but I have a lot of knowledge on these areas. And then I would say, what can I do? As I'm talking to ChatGPT, hey, what can I do today that is going to be able to generate me an audience, but that's also going to generate me, by building an audience based off my knowledge, income? What can I do today? And it's going to give you all these things, and it's going to give you a layout, and you just want to talk to it. Hey, what systems do I need? Should I start? Should I start on YouTube, Instagram, all of the LinkedIn, right? And so that's what I would do if I had zero tech background to start leveraging AI today. I would literally go on ChatGPT, and I would talk to it as if it's my mentor, if it's my, manager, if it's a guru. That's what I would do. That's what Amari would do today. I would really go and talk to ChatGPT and give it all my expertise and say, how can I put this together to be able to build an audience, to be able to scale the audience, and eventually monetize the audience? What does risk look like when you genuinely trust God? When you genuinely trust God, I believe that I think risk is always calculated for sure. But I think because when you trust God, that means that you're hearing from God. That means you're seeking God. That means that you are in the presence of God more. You're reading his word. You're around the people who are believing in God and trusting in God. So the risks become less because you're allowing him to guide your steps. He's not going to give you the full plan all the time, because sometimes if God gives us the full plan, and he says, hey, this is the full plan, and these are all the things you're going to go through, most of us wouldn't want to do it. Moses probably would have said no. I mean, Jonah tried to say no. And I could keep going, right? Then we wouldn't do it. But trusting God, the risk it doesn't look like anything, honestly, because the risk is, dang, what if I don't trust God? What if I don't obey? What if I'm non-obedient? And too many times in my life, at least, God has shown me that if I'm obedient, and when I'm obedient, he's going to order my steps in a way where everything will align. And sometimes it's scary, but hey, I'd rather do it than have the consequences of being disobedient or being obedient too late. How do you know when God is calling you higher versus when you're just being ambitious? I believe the uncomfortability. I believe that when God wants us to go higher, he'll start to put us around people who we are not necessarily qualified to be around. Not to say that people are better than us, but it's life, right? People have certain qualifications, been doing this for a long time. When you're around people like that you don't qualify according to the world to be around, but you're around these people and you're conversing with these people, God is giving you, hey, this is where I see you at. Now I need you to continue to do the work in order so you can be at this place and stay at this place. Because just because he showed you something doesn't mean he's going to give it to you. Just because he showed David that he was going to be the king of Israel after Saul, he didn't give it to him. David had to go defeat Goliath. He had to sit underneath Saul's reign. He had to felt what it's like to be, hunted for by the king, right? He had to wait his turn. So I think God will put you in places and put us in places that we necessarily don't belong in, because David didn't belong in those places. He was a teenager. He didn't have any, he was the last son of Jesse. He wasn't the strongest, the biggest, but guess what? God put him in a position where it's like, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. Now I need you to become the person so you can catch up to what I have for you. All right, let's do one more question. What's the difference between being tired and undisciplined? I like that. Being tired just means that you've been doing something for a long time and your body may not have the wherewithal to do it. But being disciplined means that no matter if you're tired, if it's something that you have to do, that you said you were going to do based off of your goals, then you're going to do it anyway, right? And so I'm sure there was a lot of times in my life where, and even still sometimes today, where I'm like, man, I'm tired. I done did X, Y, and Z. But then I look to my right, I'm like, man, I have these goals. And I look to my left, I'm like, man, this is what I have to do to reach these goals. So you know what? Let me do it anyway. And so I just believe that, you know, tired is a thing. You can get tired and we do need rest. But also what carries us over from when we're tired is the discipline of it. It's the routine of it. You know, in college we were doing Navy SEAL training, and one of my guys said that my coach would always say, you know, your body can do 40% more than what your mind thinks. Like when you want to quit, when you want to give up, your body can actually do more. You just have to exercise that more. And so that's kind of my answers for today. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is this episode for this week. Next week we'll have a guest here for sure. And hopefully you got some value from those answers. I know I got some value from answering them. And I actually haven't answered some of these. So it was great. Make sure you tune in so you don't get tuned out. Like, subscribe, and share. And, you know, have a great day. Let's go. We out. Boom.